A long time ago, I raised a son to know his Spielberg from his Shyamalan.
Now we're turning our arguments into content. This is I Am Your Father, where Gen X meets Gen Z in hyperspace.
Hello, I am Graham.
And I am Braden.
There you go. Sorry, I threw that one at you. You weren't seeing it coming.
It's okay. It's okay. I guess I should introduce myself rather than you always introduce me.
Yeah, bad habit, you know.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, and you're listening to I Am Your Father, the podcast. We are excited to be back recording another week, and we've got a main topic today. Today's episode is going to focus on summer blockbusters, specifically Jaws. We were inspired by a recent interview that Quentin Tarantino did, where he says that Jaws is the greatest movie ever made. Now, he specifies movie, and in the interview, he separates film from movie. But we thought, let's dive in. We're coming in on summer now. We've got summer blockbusters. You can see we're ready for summer. We're ready to, hit the cruise ship, which we're actually going to do.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, in a few weeks. Although we're going to be
cold.
Not going to. Yeah, we're going to be. Braden and I will be going on an Alaskan cruise in a few weeks, and we're going to be trying to record an episode while we're there, right?
Yeah, I think so. If we can make that work out, I think that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, we just need to work through the details. But so we're excited. We're going to dig into Jaws and Steven Spielberg, and we thought we'd go a little nostalgic for you guys and give you a chance to go back and watch one of the greatest movies ever made, according to Tarantino.
Yeah.
So, but first, let's do our 10 and 20.
Let's do it. So this is going to be our 10 and 20. We're going to cover 10 topics in roughly 20 minutes. Try to hold us to it. We're not very good at it. We've got some good stuff here. Usually some movie news, a few opinions, but here we go. We got some fun stuff. Starting off, topic number 1, a new episode of The Last of Us, episode 6, the second to last episode of the season, by the way. 7 episodes total.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's enough episodes happening this season, or do you think they're going to wrap it up too soon?
No, I feel like, we were literally recording when I came to the realization based on you telling me, where you informed me that we only had 2 episodes left. So it was our last recording, and I was for sure not ready for that fact. I was completely caught off guard. I guess that's a testament to how much I'm enjoying the season, that it didn't really dawn on me how slowly they were going through. But it's very clear, obviously, whereas season 1, they focused on the entire first game, they are splitting this into at least 2 seasons.
I think they said 3 recently, that there's no way they're going to be able to wrap it up in a 3rd season. But it is interesting because as you're watching it, it really, and I think this is an issue, but it really doesn't feel like we're close to resolution of any kind, And I feel like that might be a little bit of an error. Granted, I haven't seen the 7th episode because it's not out yet, and we'll see what they do. I also don't know what happens because I haven't played the game, so maybe there will be some kind of resolution, but I don't know. Real quick, what did you think of this last episode? Did you like it? We got some more Joel.
We did. Excuse me. I did like the episode. I liked, obviously, having Pedro Pascal back as Joel. Mm-hmm. I'll say that it was really very true to the experience in the game. It's a moment in the game where you sort of take this break and you do exactly what Ellie and Joel did. She has this flashback. We see this memory, and it's this sort of peaceful time. I think that the show did an even better job, though, of not just taking us through the sequence with the T-Rex and the museum and all that, but then also kind of going through these additional points on their journey that kind of fills in that gap from season 1 to season 2. So I thought the show's execution was successful.
Yeah, I think this was one of the best episodes of this season for sure, but it also just pointed out to me, although nobody's fault, but maybe the creator of the story, how important Joel is to my enjoyment of this show. He's just such a great character, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him again moving forward pretty much at all, and that's disappointing to me.
Yeah. It's interesting that this is a video game, and I'm about to say this, originally a video game, but I think it's one of the most controversial executions, if you'll excuse the term, of a character in storytelling, in modern storytelling. I mean, it really does send the story in a whole different direction, and we said last week, Joel's absence is... It's booming. You feel it really consistently. So, all right. Topic number 2. Is it HBO? Is it HBO Max? Is it just Max? Is it what? What's going on here? We're making another change to one of our favorite producers of content and services.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck this is about. I saw this and I thought it was a meme. I guess I don't have any particularly strong feelings towards it at all, other than I just think it's weird that they keep rebranding every couple of years. And I don't know if they're doing it just to stay in the conversation, but I don't feel that they need to. I feel like Max is maybe my favorite streaming service right now. So I don't know. I don't feel too strongly one way or another. I just think it's funny.
What do you consume from Max, if I could ask? Like, why is it one of your favorites? Is it the existence of older IP like Friends, or is it some of these like Discovery shows like, Doctor? Are you watching Dr. Pill Popper?
No.
Or
no, I'm not.
What is? What is it? What's the content that you feel like is most valuable there?
Yeah, I like Friends. I do. So some of the shows, some of the new shows that they're putting out as well, and then they just have a great library. I feel like in terms of movies, they have all the DC content for the most part, which I enjoy. And I also feel like when a movie comes out that I'm interested in, it generally shows up on Max first. And so I just feel like overall they put out content that I'm mostly interested in.
So listen, they had a few like corporate buyouts and mergers and things like that, and I think a lot of that led to this. I think the original move to add Max was just to get into streaming, and then to move from HBO Max to Max as a standalone was, I think, a signal to the industry that they wanted to be, that they were going to compete in the Netflix world and and just have this massive library of content and be there. But I think that largely that's failed. I think what I'm hearing and reading is that it's kind of a step back to them saying, actually, we're not going to try and compete with Netflix. We're going to be that prestige content developer that HBO is, and so they want to add that back. So it's like they're definitely, it's a step back, but I think it's a good step back.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, I'll take us into number 3.
Let's do it.
There are some aftershocks of Andor season 2, mainly that it will be showing up in theaters along with a Rogue One re-release. And on top of that, Rogue One being the most watched movie on the Disney Plus platform right now, I'm assuming as a direct result of Andor. I mean, we both watched Rogue One.
What I've been seeing is that it spiked. Yeah, it spiked right after the season finale.
Which makes sense. We both did it, so we were part of that. Part of the movement, I guess. Do you think we'll see more like this from Star Wars in the future, or do you think that this was a kind of lightning in a bottle kind of situation?
It's interesting. We're also hearing that the Ryan Gosling film is going to take place in a totally new timeline, and so I think that's maybe a potential answer to the question you just asked. What I really like about Andor, obviously, is that it's not necessarily a totally different timeline, right? It fills in a gap, but it's a totally different group of people with different sensibilities and different motivations than those we had otherwise been following throughout the history of Star Wars. I'm hoping that the same thing is going to happen with this Ryan Gosling film. I'll definitely be in theaters next year for the 10th anniversary. I will sit there. I'm hoping it. I doubt it's going to be, the whole season, but maybe it is. Maybe it'll be the entire season. I would sit in theater all day watching that.
Yeah, I agree. I think Andor's responsible for the most excited I've been about Star Wars in a really long time. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. All right. James Gunn has given us some news that I think we're both pretty happy to hear, but he has reassured us that The Batman 2 is moving forward. Matt Reeves at the helm. It's not going to fall off the table because of all this other stuff with Dune Messiah and other things. So he's telling us, don't worry. Don't panic.
Don't worry. We were panicking. Yeah. We really were. We were. But I also saw that apparently Matt Reeves will be turning in the first full script this weekend. That's what I've been seeing as of today.
Yeah. Turning it into you?
Yeah, turning it into me. I'll be reading it for notes.
Awesome.
I'll let you guys know how it looks, but
you heard it here first.
Yeah. But I mean, this is just great news. Great news. This is my most anticipated comic book movie, at least.
Yep.
I want to see this movie get made, so I feel a lot better now that James Gunn is saying, after all these rumors and stuff, hey guys, don't worry, it's still coming. Matt Reeves is still working on it.
Me too. I think it's also good that he's identifying that there is IP that he inherited or expressions of the IP that he inherited that aren't his own that people still really want. So it's good that he's listening.
Yeah. Speaking of most anticipated projects, we have some Odyssey news, The Odyssey from Christopher Nolan. And it will be the first movie ever shot entirely on IMAX. Now, I didn't realize that nothing had been. For some reason, I thought Oppenheimer had been shot entirely on IMAX, but it turns out only a little bit over an hour of that 3-hour movie was shot on IMAX.
Yeah.
So, thoughts?
Yeah, I am in the same boat as you. I don't think I realized that hadn't happened. I know there was a lot of talk when Sinners was first released about its IMAX, but of course he was going to different formats there. So that was kind of an interesting education that Coogler provided us all about, kind of going from one film format to another film format, different cameras and things like that. I know that a lot of times for IMAX releases, they're actually shooting the film with 2 different cameras simultaneously. So that they have an IMAX presentation and then they have a 35 or 70 mil presentation as well. But I'm in the same boat as you. I didn't quite realize that. I'm excited about it though, and I like that Christopher Nolan continues to push the medium, similar to the way that Coogler was pushing the medium recently. So we've got a good set of directors out right now and giving us some really great stuff.
Yeah, I mean that actually kind of is a little bit of an interesting segue again, but. A little while ago, it was rumored that Denzel Washington was going to be showing up in the next Ryan Coogler Black Panther movie. And now there's all these rumors going around all of a sudden that Marvel wants Denzel to be playing Magneto. And I'll just speak to it real quick. While, yes, he's an amazing actor towards the end of his career. He said this himself. He's got a few movies left, and then he's done. I do not think they should go with an actor who's ready to be done acting within the next few years here. I don't think that that's really a smart move for their brand new Magneto in the MCU. What do you think?
That's an interesting point. I hadn't heard anything about him signaling retirement. I think he is the best or one of the best working actors that we have right now, and one of the best ever. There's almost no. I can't remember a Denzel Washington movie that I didn't want to see. Even some of the things that are more independent, more art house or adaptations of plays or things like that. Like I'm going to see everything he does. So I am, from a certain perspective, excited to have him in that universe. But yeah, I mean, if it's a character that we're hoping to see across 4 or 5 films or more, and that's not what he has in mind, then yeah, that could be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, to me, we've waited this long for the X-Men in the MCU. I don't think they need to be hiring anybody who's not ready for 10 years, the next 10 years of their life, to at least sporadically show up, So,
well, the other thing is that I think Denzel puts out material for the most part that no one else puts out. He's in the types of films that we're not getting from other great actors right now. And so if he gets tied up with the MCU, then I would be concerned what that would mean to some of the other great projects that aren't going to get made.
Yeah.
That we would otherwise have seen him in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll take us into 7 as well.
Okay.
So recently, a couple days ago, a fan, or maybe not a fan, snuck onto the set of Avengers Doomsday, recorded the whole thing. They were walking around different sets, different trailers. I guess they saw a few actors as well and decided to post the whole thing. And first of all, that sucks. Don't do that. Don't be the guy who's just trying to spoil it for everybody, I guess. I don't really know what the joy or pleasure in that is. But basically, just be careful, because while I haven't seen anything yet, apparently this video, although taken down pretty quickly, was downloaded, re-recorded, all these different things, and released onto the internet. It's out there forever now. So just be careful for spoilers and leaks for Doomsday, because we don't want any more than the large amount that Marvel's already told us.
Let's be careful out there, everybody.
Be careful.
Okay, so we've got a new output strategy from Marvel. 3 movies, 1 to 2 live action shows, and 2 animated shows per year, right? That's what Feige's telling us?
Yeah, I'm assuming so. 3 movies max.
So the question that I have for you is, is that too much or is that not enough? What side of the fence are you on here?
I mean, it's definitely enough.
I agree.
Considering we got one Marvel movie last year and we're getting only 2 this year in terms of MCU movies, I think that kind of feels good. The 2, I'm willing to do the 2 to 3 range. That's kind of right when Marvel was in the pocket, back in like that 2016 to 2019 stretch. So I can live with 3 movies as long as they're still good quality. 1 to 2 live action shows. That works for me too. And their animated series have been good so far, the few that they've put out, other than maybe What If past season 1.
Yeah.
And so I'm cool with it. I will say there is one other interesting thing to note, and that's that they're saying Vision Quest, the show that Vision will be starring in, will be the last MCU show to star a major character, they're saying. So their shows moving forward are going to feature new or less important characters, as to not make it feel like homework, like you have to watch the movie and then you have to watch the show. It'll kind of just be consume if you want. And that's something that I think I appreciate. Initially, I would have said, I don't know about that, but seeing what they've done and how it's worked out, I think it's a good correction.
Well, my original reaction to reading this was that they were presenting it like they were limiting themselves and they were doing us this big favor, but it seems to me like it's still an awful lot of Marvel.
Yeah.
I personally, I would have shaved that down to 2 movies max per year, but I'd rather, again, quality over quantity is what I'm looking for here. We're going to get 2 this year, right?
Yeah, 2.
We've had 1 already that was high quality.
Yeah.
We have high hopes that Fantastic Four is going to be high quality. If that's the case, I don't need a 3rd one this year. I'm fine waiting until 26 for similar results.
Yeah, I agree. I'm hoping that is the case. So
yeah. Okay.
Go for it.
All right. So some updated casting information as well as confirmation of what book is being adapted. Narnia is back. Greta Gerwig directing. We now have confirmation that it's going to be The Magician's Nephew. How do you feel about that?
I think I'm excited. It's one of my favorite books.
Yeah, me too.
It works really well as a prequel, though, so I'm not sure how well it'll translate, it being the first of this new franchise. But I do get their hesitancy to just start over where the previous series started. They want to give us something new, something fresh. And ultimately, it's one of my favorite books, so I'm looking forward to seeing it adapted. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, when I first read it, and mind you, I read Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, and Voyage of the Dawn Treader all when I was really young. I was an adult before I went back and finished the series and went to Magician's Nephew and thought, my goodness, how did I miss this? This is such a good book, and it really does work great as a prequel to go backwards and tell that story. So I agree, but I think you're right. If they want to reboot the franchise, rebooting it with Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I don't know that works as well. So I think I can appreciate this strategy. Let's go all the way to the beginning. Let's tell this in chronological order.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right.
We've also got a couple new. Before we move on, we've got a couple new. Carey Mulligan has been identified as a new casting for Magician's Nephew. So now we've got Daniel Craig, we've got Meryl Streep. And we've got Emma Mackey along with Carey Mulligan. So more or less the adults are all cast.
Yeah, I don't know that Meryl Streep is confirmed yet, though. Everything I'm seeing is still rumored. But that's interesting. Real quick, we can dive into that and maybe just ditch the last topic. How are you feeling about Meryl Streep portraying Aslan, if that is the case?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know that I hate the idea. I have a feeling it's going to be... it's going to generate a remarkable amount of controversy. I really struggled with that sentence, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's going to generate a remarkable amount of controversy in an unnecessary way. So, I think that people are going to come to the conclusion that it is, let's even go so far as to say blasphemous. And I think it's going to be just a lot of ridiculous noise. But I'm down for it. I have no issues with it at all. I
think this does bring up an interesting point, though. Like, I think these series that are being adapted, so these book series that are being adapted into movies or shows or whatever they may be lately, have recently, within the last few years, continued to make certain decisions, specifically in terms of gender swapping or race swapping or whatever, that you could see as no issue at all. But it really is interesting how controversial it is among the fan base. I would almost wonder why they continue to, in a way, piss off their target audience, being the people who are fans and have been waiting for this project for who knows how long, with something that is obviously, at least potentially, going to be controversial and upsetting to longtime fans. So I think this is somewhat of a pattern that we're seeing. They knew there's no way that if this was the decision that was being made for Aslan, that it was made with like no idea that it was going to be controversial or upsetting to plenty of people. Like, they knew that, and potentially, we don't know for sure, but potentially are going in that direction anyways. And I do find that interesting. It feels like an immediate, like, hey, by the way, this might not actually be for the people who have been asking for this for a while. It's going to be for the people we want to make it for, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I guess the part of that resonates with me is it seems to fly in the face rather of the potential commercial success of it, but it'll definitely generate publicity.
And maybe that's why. Maybe that's a part of why they do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I am confident that Greta Gerwig, who by all accounts loves the material and has always been a fan of the material, is going to give us a really great adaptation one way or another.
Yeah. All right. You want to take us into our main topic? I think we wrapped it up.
Yeah. That was a pretty good 10 and 20 right there. We did all right.
Too bad.
We doubled up on a topic at the end, kicked one to the curb. That happens sometimes.
9 and 20.
All right. 1975, Jaws. Steven Spielberg. We've got a lot to unpack here. You and I both recently rewatched Jaws again. And so I guess I'm... this is what's happening. The little timer's going off on me for our 10 and 20. And shoot, you're going to have to edit this out. It will not stop beeping in my ear. Okay. Sorry about that. So Jaws is credited as being a masterpiece. It is, I think, one of the greatest films ever made. I don't know that I'm ready to say it is the greatest, but it is, to me, a 5-star film. It's a perfect film. It's widely considered to be the first summer blockbuster ever to create the concept of a summer blockbuster. It's got mass appeal. It's released in wide release, right? Thousands of theaters across the country all getting the film at the same time. I'm sure that you, Braden, take that more or less for granted, that that's how you release a good movie, right? It just has national release, right? But that's not the way that movies were typically released during the 60s, during the 70s, or et cetera. They were typically released in one or two cities. They would kind of go on like a little tour, You'd have to wait for it to come to your city. And oftentimes, going back into the 40s and 50s and 60s, like films stayed in theater for a few years. They would come back around because they were making that round. So releasing a film in thousands of theaters at the same time to get a global impact on the culture was a completely new concept that Jaws, the team releasing Jaws, was trying to achieve at Universal. And on top of that, it's a summer release, and summer films had traditionally been where you dropped your worst movies. So this is a film that really changes absolutely everything, and I think it's worth us talking about. It also really launches the career of Steven Spielberg. So let's start just by getting your initial take. First question is, up to this rewatch and this conversation, what has Jaws meant to you as a film?
Well, I had only seen it once before this week. And I enjoy it. I really do enjoy this movie. I mean, it's hard. You can't deny how iconic it is, right? So I knew plenty about the movie before having seen it. I knew the score, one of the most iconic scores of all time, which we'll touch on. I knew a lot of the quotes. I obviously knew it was going to be a lot of shark mayhem. But I also didn't know a lot about how the story was going to go. Like, I knew shark attacks people, but I didn't really know much beyond that. I also knew about the really famous dolly zoom, one of the most iconic shots in movie history. And so when I watched it the first time, I did really enjoy it. But I'll be honest. So my initial viewing, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And if I'm now in hindsight being honest with myself, I think I was a little afraid to go lower because of how iconic it is. And on this
Did you drop it to a 4?
On this rewatch, I dropped it to a 4. Maybe in the future it'll go up. I know this is a great example of the dynamic on this podcast, the father-son dynamic, the different generations. But don't get me wrong, a 4-star is a really great movie that I will gladly rewatch whenever. So
yeah, I know.
I really love it.
We have this debate. And I get that, but this is rarefied air. Jaws is for sure falls into that category of perfect film. I mean, at least a 4.5. I can't believe you dropped it to a 4. All right.
So, do you want me to get into why, or do you want me to get into that a little later?
Let's come back to that.
All right. Sounds good.
I think, not to spoil it, but I already mentioned that I gave it a 5. You gave it a 4 upon this rewatch. I discovered that I had never rated it on Letterboxd before, which was surprising. So I'm glad that it's finally there. And so let's talk about then. Let's go into Steven Spielberg, right? So he's 26 when he directs this film. It's a second movie, and I believe, but he had done a lot of television work. He had been directing small things and TV for a really long time. So he had some chops. He'd had some practice, but this is really the first time that he's being handed the keys to what Universal hopes is going to be something really big. The book it's based on was a huge bestseller. And it had only been released in 1974. So I'm pretty sure, if memory serves, Universal had bought the rights to the book before it even was released. Like eventually it had some success.
Interesting.
They wanted to be in business with him. They bought the rights to make the film of the book before the book even was released. But the book was a huge hit the year before. It was the book of the summer. So giving Spielberg this property was considered a really, really big risk. And by all accounts, those risks continued to show up throughout the production of the film. But having not grown up in that kind of a world and just, by the time you're watching movies, Spielberg is Mount Rushmore level, right?
Yeah, of course.
Is it weird to think about the idea that it was the people were afraid to give Spielberg an important property?
No, I mean, yeah, that's bizarre. He's clearly one of the most iconic directors alive and of all time. He has so many classics, including this one. So it's kind of crazy to think that he was just 2 years older than me when he made this movie.
Yeah.
That's a little wild, but no,
yeah.
Absolutely. He's up there for sure. Top 10 easy, definitely even most likely top 5.
Yeah. I mean, I think you see it in this film, and what I mean by that is I don't think you see like the rookiness of it. I think you can see the greatness that he will continue to deliver. Like there are scenes that are paced in such a way that I'm like, oh, that's Raiders right there. Oh, that's Schindler's List. Oh, that's Jurassic Park. Like he is showing you, or he's figuring out on the spot rather, the types of things that he's going to continue to put into his films throughout the rest of his career. And as he consistently has changed the face of modern cinema. So I think it's not one of those things. Sometimes you go back and you see an early film from an early director and you're like, okay, I can see where he's going with that. But other times, like with this, like we talked about from my perspective from Nolan with Memento, I got Magneto and Memento stuck together into one conversation there. What we see with Nolan and Memento, I think there's greatness right out the gate with him here, and I think it shows up.
Yeah, I would say that you wouldn't watch this movie and think that he was early in his career at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say?
So you said
real quick.
Sorry, go ahead.
Would you say that this is his best film, or the favorite of yours?
That's a great question. I'm going to say it's not. It's neither his best nor my favorite. I think it's one of his best. I think it's top 3 top 5 at worst. But I think for me, he has at least 3, if not 4, or like perfect movies.
Yeah.
I think that I would put Schindler's List up there at a 5. I would put Raiders at a 5. I would for sure put this one already at a 5. That's 3. What else? Jurassic Park, 4.5 to 5, right in that range. Probably a 5 as well.
Jurassic Park is a 5 for me.
Yeah, and then a lot of people would go 5 on E.T. as well. For me, it's a little lower, but I think that then you've got other things like he followed this movie up with Close Encounters. Shortly after that, I mean, he has one of his few flops after that with I think 1942. But then he comes back with E.T. and I mean he's been iconic. He was on such a run there where he was just making the most successful film over and over again and beating himself. But I think that probably I'd put Raiders and Schindler's over Jaws for me, but they're all right in it's millimeters apart.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually crazy how many movies he has that are like he has very few below a 4-star rating, For me.
Oh yeah.
He's just so consistent. It's incredible.
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, there are definitely a handful of films of his that I don't really care for too much, but they are beloved outside. Like other people love these films. I just don't personally, but they are beloved.
Like what?
Beloved movies.
Get controversial.
War of the Worlds is one that I could do without. I've never been a huge fan of AI. Which is a film that he took over from why am I going blank on this? Stanley Kubrick.
Okay.
After Stanley Kubrick had passed away, he had been developing this film for a really long time, and Spielberg finished it off for him and directed it. And there's a few others like that I would put into that. Empire of the Sun is pretty good, but it's just okay to me. But a lot of people absolutely adore that film. Launched Christian Bale's career. So I mean, there's a handful. Here's a controversial one. I think a lot of people love Catch Me If You Can, and I think it's a great movie. It's a solid 3.5, 4 to me, but it's not my favorite.
No, it's not a 5. I agree.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier before we started recording that there was one thing that happened that takes this down to a 4 or impacts your love of the film in a big way. What's that?
Yeah. So my favorite part about this movie is how little you see the shark, especially in the first half, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's pretty famously known that they had a lot of struggle with the mechanical shark malfunctioning, and it caused a lot of setbacks, and ultimately they had to rewrite it a little bit to show less of the shark. Yeah. And for me, where the movie actually really dips down is when we start to see the shark more often towards the end of the movie. It aged poorly, but not so poorly. Things have aged much worse. So it's not the worst, but it's extremely noticeable. There's a scene in the movie when the shark is in the pond right before it gets towards his sons, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a scene of the shark swimming. You just see the dorsal fin and the tail fin, and you see how far apart they are, first of all. Yeah. And it's just gliding through the water, and that looks completely real. It looks so real and so terrifying. I'd crap my pants. And that's what I love about this movie, and the POV shots and all this different stuff, right?
In that same scene, though, in the pond, too, as you just see sort of coming up, but the shark never actually like breaches the water when he's taking out the man in the boat,
right?
Exactly. who's fallen in, like as you just see sort of the silhouette, and then you just sort of get a glimpse, and it's terrifying.
And that's what's perfect. But towards the end of the movie, when the shark is fully out of the water, it's up on the boat chomping, and all that stuff is really where, unfortunately, it ages a lot for me, and I'm not as immersed in it anymore. And I know that it's one of those situations where you'll have a greater appreciation for it if you were around when it came out. And and recognized how real it was at the time, but I just don't
because
have
it
that
pushed
context.
the boundaries. Yeah, it pushed the boundaries of visual effects, special effects, creature effects. It pushed all those boundaries, and I think that it really was the foundation for what so many others would do. It was in many ways, a lot of ways, the foundation for what George Lucas brings to the table just a few years later.
Yeah.
But I get it. Did you know? Just a funny little side fact. You know that the mechanical shark had a name.
Yeah, Bruce.
Bruce. Are you aware that that's where the shark in Finding Nemo is named as a tribute?
I mean, as we were talking about it now, I was about to bring it up. I figured that would be the reason why. It's a really good shark name. I have to be honest.
It is.
It's a great shark name. My name's Bruce.
Yeah, it works perfect. Just a little tribute to Jaws. I get what you're saying, and yes, I agree that the absence of the shark, the thought of the shark, is
the
more
imagination.
impactful than the actual shark itself. But I think it ages better than a lot of the CGI from the late 90s. And
I would agree.
And early 2000s.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
absolutely. That is true.
Yeah.
But it is noticeable.
Yeah. What did you think of the performances of the actors?
Really great.
Did you have context for any of the three of them? Much context at all for any of the three of them?
Nope. No baggage whatsoever.
Not even Dreyfuss.
Nope. Nobody.
Okay.
I don't even know who Dreyfuss is. I don't know the names of any of these actors, but I had no context whatsoever, and I think they're all really, really great performances. And again, for me, especially in the first half, it's really the performances of the people, the panic, the frustration, the greed, all of these things that really draw you into this movie. And so I would say that it's definitely one of the best parts of the movie. Is I really think we're getting top tier performances from pretty much everyone.
Yeah, I'd agree. And especially the three leads, obviously, with Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, and Robert Shaw, all deliver amazing performances. I think it's Scheider's best. I think it's, I personally think it's also probably Dreyfuss's best. Robert Shaw, it's pretty close. It's up there for me. But did you know that he's also Robert Shaw was a writer and a poet as well?
No.
Like Quint, right? So the scene when he's delivering the monologue about the USS Indianapolis, he co-wrote that. It wasn't in the book. It wasn't in the script. They were looking for something, and they got the idea to do it. And then he co-wrote that whole monologue, and then apparently delivered it while drunk, in like one or two takes. You know, and that was. It's a really fascinating moment. Something I want to throw out there. I've seen this movie like 20 or 30 times, and on this viewing, I noticed something for the very first time. I don't know why I had never noticed it before, but so he delivers a speech about the USS Indianapolis, right? He talks about the fact that the scariest moment he had in that whole experience was waiting for his turn to get on the boat, and he says, "I'll never wear a life jacket again." Like I'm going down. There's this really great scene toward the very end where Shaw goes down, into the galley. He's going to get something, and he has to like walk down and wade into like waist deep water, and he's sitting there, and it's like he suddenly has this moment of like PTSD where he realizes like this is it. You can tell he's like I have a choice here. Do I keep fighting? Am I going to die? What's going to happen? And he just like glances over. He puts his arm up and he glances over, and there's these life jackets like hanging there. And then when he comes out of the boat, he's now wearing his military jacket, like over the top. He's buttoned up his little denim shirt, and he's got his military coat over it, buttoned up. He's like cleaned himself up a little bit, and he hands the two of those guys life jackets, but he doesn't put one on himself. And it's the first time that I've ever kind of put that little piece together where I'm like, all right, he's resigned to his fate. He's going to put on his uniform, but he's not going to put that life jacket back on. If he goes down, he goes down with the ship. I thought it was a really great moment. Yeah, and it caught me for the very first time.
Yeah, I did not notice that at all, if I'm being honest. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's right there in plain sight, and I have missed it over 20 plus viewings of the film. So I know I kept saying thousands and thousands of theaters before. I'm pretty sure it was like 400 or 500. I was being a little hyperbolic before. But another big part about this film is it really impacted the way that marketing was done as well. This is the first like widely marketed film nationally in terms of like an advertising campaign and everything. The weird thing about this, son, like I had a Jaws coloring book.
Yeah.
Like they were marketing this in such a crazy wide way to everybody, like as like a, you know, when it came out, obviously I was not even born yet. It came out the year before I was born, but it was still such a phenomenon that at 3-4 years old, like somebody gave me for Christmas, like a Jaws coloring book. And I was like going in there and like, you know, drawing the shark attacking the boat and things like that. It was kind of weird.
That's so interesting.
It also completely freaked me out about going in the water.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I was scared of the water because of this movie before I had ever even seen the movie. I mean, it scared generations. That song, just absolutely. The song is like, holy crap, there's something in the water that's going to get me. And that's pretty crazy.
Well, so let's talk about the song. Let's talk about John Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, he wins an Oscar in 75 for this film, or I guess technically early 76 is when he wins it. But this is already his second Oscar win.
Yeah.
And like his 11th nomination in 75. And this is somebody who you know your whole life continually producing like quality scores over and over and over again. He's already got 11 nominations by the time he gets a nomination for Jaws and wins his second Academy Award. That's crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean,
do you know how many nominations he's ever received total?
No, I don't. Do you?
It's 58. It's not the record.
Really? Who has the record?
Yeah. Walt Disney, 59.
BS.
It's true.
BS.
It's true. Well, you're going to say that the impact of Disney is lesser than the impact of John Williams?
To me.
What do you mean? I mean, he's doing.
No.
John Williams is working for Disney now.
No,
not the other way around.
It's true, but that score is just so extremely genius in its simplicity. Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite literally just a few notes, right?
Yeah.
Over and over and over again, menacing, paired with, you know, the way that things are shot from the dark waters, the POV from underneath the floating people. Like, it is just. It's perfect. And if I'm being so honest, this score, like without this score, I don't know that this movie would be nearly as popular as it is. I think in a lot of ways, this score made this movie as terrifying and iconic as it is.
Yeah, it's the theme for the shark specifically, right? And there's other aspects of the score that are really good. If you go through and just listen to other parts of the score, it's great. But
yeah.
The shark theme from Jaws is so iconic. I mean, is there anything else where you just literally hear only two notes and you instantly not only know what film you're hearing, but you instantly have like this visceral reaction to, you know, like you kind of tense up just a little bit?
No, I mean, it's pretty much the most iconic, and which is a crazy thing to say because John Williams his whole catalog is the most iconic. But yeah. Going back a little bit to how we were talking about Spielberg being only 26 when he made this movie, just a little piece of trivia. I do think it's interesting that the shoot went way over budget and over schedule, being scheduled initially for 55 days and ending up being 159 days.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a great look as it's happening. He had to have been crapping his pants the whole time, being like, I am just blowing this. Like, this is going to be the end. This is the end of my career, you know?
Well, he was, by all accounts, he didn't show up to the very last day of production because he was afraid that the crew was going to do something to him. Like, I don't know what exactly, but that's what I've heard. And then he skipped the premiere. of the film because he was so convinced it was going to be a bomb and that it was the end of his career.
Wow.
So he didn't show up to the premiere either. I think I might be mixing up two different stories, but I'm pretty sure that he skipped the premiere and he was instead on vacation with George Lucas in Hawaii, and George Lucas is showing him his script for Star Wars.
Yeah, I think I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
Also, let's touch on the sequels.
Yeah. Okay. Have you seen any of them?
I have not seen any of them.
All right. Well,
just based
you're not
on
really
the
missing
posters.
out.
The posters alone have turned me off to the idea. I'm like, that looks like a crap movie.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So Jaws 2 is not bad. Scheider returns, and it's in Amity again, and it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
But it's not Jaws.
It's not Jaws. No. I mean, I would probably give it a 2.5.
Okay.
But the problem is that then Jaws 3D and Jaws: The Revenge are like ones. You know, they're pretty bad. They're almost unwatchable. The sort of unspoken premise of 2 is that not just that there's another shark, but that it is somehow related to the original shark.
Bruce Jr.
Yeah, something like that. Well, that certainly becomes the case later. By the time we get to Jaws: The Revenge, Scheider's wife has moved to the Bahamas, where because she wants to escape the horrors of what happened in Amity.
Let me guess. The shark tracked her down. It was looking for her.
Yeah, I mean that's as sharks do.
Yeah,
you know. And so that's why it's called The Revenge. It's Jaws' revenge. It's the Jaws family is taking out their revenge. They've tracked her down into the Bahamas, and I think that to a certain extent that is a similar premise to 3 as well. That it moves down to Florida, I think, and they're like at a theme park, like a SeaWorld type thing in Florida, and the shark tracks them down. It's the son, it's his son that was on the boat. Or
this
the little son,
family.
I don't remember which one. Yeah,
this
I know. They can't get away from these sharks. They're still mad that, it wasn't so much that he blew it up, but that he, called the shark a son of a bitch.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. They took it personally.
It seems like
I don't know. It's a really weird scenario where a movie is so iconic and has such an impact on culture, and the studio couldn't figure out how to make a single good follow-up to it. And I certainly don't love the first few sequels to Jurassic Park as an example, but they're much more watchable. They're significantly
they're
better
at least
than
watchable.
The Jaws. Yeah, they're watchable. It's really surprising to me, and I'm just thankful that they haven't gone back to the well. I don't remember off the top of my head when Jaws: The Revenge came out, but I wouldn't think it was any earlier than like 1989 or something like that. I mean, it's been a pretty long time since that last one came out. Maybe early 90s. I could be wrong, but thank God they haven't come back and tried to do like a reboot.
Well, by the way, I've just now, by complete coincidence, after we decided to make the episode about Jaws, been seeing online that people are basically calling for a rebooted Jaws franchise.
Oh,
I'm not even kidding you. This is... I'm seeing this and I'm just laughing.
It's a mistake. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Maybe a shot-for-shot remake of the first one. Man.
Have you ever seen a shot-for-shot remake of a classic? There's a couple that exist.
Are there?
Yeah.
What's an example? Can you think of one?
Yeah, Psycho. So Psycho was a classic Alfred Hitchcock film, another classic Universal film, done in an amazing way. And sometime in the late 90s, I think, early 2000s, something like that, they did a remake, and the remake was done shot for shot. And so I kind of just thought, like, what's the point of this? Like, what, if you're just going to do it shot for shot? And they touted it as if that was the reason to go see it, was because they were doing it shot for shot. But that just seems like an exercise in filmmaking, not an actual film that you need to see.
Right.
I don't get it.
Yeah. That's interesting. I don't think that would generally be beneficial in any way.
Yeah.
this is kind of an interesting topic though to touch on quickly, because I do feel like there are a few movies that I would appreciate updates to rather than remakes. And I know this is really controversial with Star Wars, right? But that's mostly because he changed a lot of things, right?
Okay, so how are you defining the difference between an update and a remake?
So I'll give you my example right now. I absolutely adore the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
They're my favorite. It's my favorite trilogy of all time. And if it remains right there forever, I'll be completely happy. But in the back of my mind, sometimes I do wish, I wish they would kind of, spend a little money and hire some artists to go through this and update some of the CGI, right? On some of the characters specifically, like, the big CGI monsters specifically, kind of a thing. And
so you're talking about a Lucas-esque re-release.
A re-release with updated, with updated visuals. Not just a 4K remaster, but an actual CGI overhaul in certain ways. But then I also
do you think that works at all?
No, I don't. I don't think that they should actually do it. I think, but it would almost be something that I would be a little bit excited for, but very scared of at the same time, because as far as I'm aware, those movies are perfect. And when you start doing that, it gets a little dangerous because the line gets a little gray.
Yeah.
But it is interesting.
I mean, there were aspects, there were, I don't know if I have the exact number, but 5 or 6 things that Lucas did with the re-release of A New Hope that I think work. And then 10 to 15 that do not. Yeah. 10 to 15 that make it worse. So
a good example would be Empire, where the changes to the actual story are minimal, and he mostly just adds things that actually benefit the movie, like some exterior shots and some views out the windows rather than just walking through closed corridors. That actually enhances the movie, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's more so what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So is that what you would you sign up for that for Jaws, to just have an improved shark?
Maybe, but it's practical, right? So it'd be kind of interesting. Part of the reason it works so well is because it is practical. Like, you feel like they're in the ocean. You feel like when you see the dorsal fin cutting through the water, it feels like a dorsal fin cutting through the water, Yeah. So again, it's kind of blurry. It's kind of gray. I don't know if I would actually want that, but if they did it, I would watch it. But I don't know that it would make it better.
Did you track the shots in Jaws that were of a real shark?
Yeah. It's pretty noticeable, I think. And I actually meant to ask you about that, because I was curious. I was like, well, that's a real shark. That's completely real. Yeah. And shot in a way to make it look very large. It's noticeable. Like that I think it's too much to ask for them to change it, but I just don't know that I'll ever appreciate it the same way that I would have had it come out when I was alive,
Yeah. So, I mean, like, famously, the most important shots of the real shark are the further back shots of the cage. They use a smaller cage. They use a little person dressed up to look like Richard Dreyfuss, so that it creates a scale.
Right.
That you've got this significantly smaller cage, a significantly smaller person, and makes the shark look that much bigger. So
right.
Ironically, earlier in the film, Dreyfuss is asking Roy Scheider's character to get out onto the bow of the boat so that he can get the right perspective on the size of the shark. They go the opposite way. Spielberg goes the opposite. He goes to a smaller person to give us forced perspective on this this real shark and make it look that much bigger. I don't honestly know what kind of shark they used. It was definitely not a great white.
Right.
But I think that to me is one of the things that stands out most when I rewatch it. There's 1 or 2 close shots of the face or the head of the real shark and the shape of the head is just different from a great white.
Well, it's kind of like those movies, like the old movies where when there was a giant spider attacking the town, it was literally a tarantula walking around on a mini set. It's extremely noticeable, and I think it's one of the worst aging effects ever, if I'm being honest, because it just immediately stands out.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, again, that was innovative.
Right.
At the time, that was the height of innovation, and people were stunned by it. So
it just hasn't aged well.
It's tough that I think if you go back and you look at a film like Jurassic Park, for example, that comes out in the late 90s and remains to this day a film whose effects, a combination of practical and digital effects, work so perfectly that, it still looks flawless. I think
it does. It looks phenomenal.
It's remarkable how good that film looks, however, 35 years later or whatever it is, right? It's crazy. But so, yeah, I think in a lot of ways, I'm glad that Spielberg has not gone back and done what Lucas did and said, hey, this was this was basically my second film, my third film. It was never what I quite wanted it to be. Now let me tweak it again, and tweak it again, and tweak it again, tweak it again.
Well, it literally was not what he wanted it to be. So.
Yeah. Well, so this is a film that has a ton of cultural significance, right? It's influenced a ton of other movies. It's influenced a ton of other shows. It's constantly referenced, whether the themes or whatever. But I guess my question is, to finish up this conversation and take us into summer, do you feel like then you disagree with Tarantino?
Well, yeah, because I have it at a 4-star, and I have plenty of movies at 5 stars. So I would disagree, but there's no denying that it's amazing and that it had one of the largest impacts of any movie ever. That's undeniable. So, in a sense, I understand where he's coming from, and I also understand that there are certain movies, like a great movie from my childhood, I'm going to appreciate so much more than my son's going to, right?
Yeah.
And so I just recognize that there's missing context and lived experience, and that he's seen that movie 100 times and I've seen it 2 times, so like I recognize all these things. Maybe if once I get to my 50th or 100th rewatch, I'll have it up there, but I don't think it's the greatest of all time. I think it is extremely great, but there are a lot of movies I'd put above it. Greatest shark movie.
Well, for sure. I think it's been an interesting topic. I'm glad we covered it. I would encourage you to watch it again in 3 or 4 months, and look really closely at the cinematography. Look at the editing. Look at the pacing and the tone, and really watch it instead of watching it as an audience member. Watch it as a student, so to speak. Just the way he shoots is the way he edits it, different way that he cuts between between characters, the way he lines up his shots, the way you mentioned the famous dolly zoom, which wasn't original to Spielberg, but he just did it in a more iconic way than anyone else had done it really before.
Yeah.
And it's sort of become this thing that people associate with him. I think he's the first to point out that he did not invent that shot, but he used it so effectively that we don't remember anybody else having ever used it before.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's iconic.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad we went through it, and this was a fun conversation for our topic.
I agree.
We've got some homework to discuss real quick to close us out. And I guess we weren't as successful this week with each other's homework.
Man,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I know you're disappointed in me, but you gave me.
So you watched Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy with Gary Oldman, and you gave it how many stars?
Ooh, now I don't even remember.
What was it? I remember 2.5.
Ooh,
2.5 stars for Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
That means it was fine.
What's the average? What's its overall rating right now on Letterboxd? It's got to be pretty close to a 4.
Yeah, it's got to be, right? Let me see.
I would think.
I could figure that out really quickly for you.
Well, I'm sorry too, because I gave you a movie that I thought you would like it, but you didn't like it. Tell me why you didn't like it.
Well, it kind of goes too far in an area that I normally ask for, and that's I normally don't want a movie to hold my hand. I don't want it to hand feed me everything. I want it to let me figure things out and enjoy subtlety. And I feel like this movie kind of went way too far. Where
in terms of subtlety?
Where I think I just maybe I'm stupid, but I'm watching this movie and I'm just so lost the whole time. I have no idea who's who. I'm missing all these things, and even to the extent that I watched a YouTube video afterwards, which, by the way, there's like one YouTube video talking about this movie. And
you're saying only one,
basically, that I could find. It's not widely appreciated or talked about, and I'm watching this video. I was like, oh yeah, like I didn't get any of that. And even as I'm watching the video, I'm confused. I'm like, this guy's breaking it down for me, and I'm still lost. Listen, it's shot beautifully. The performances are top tier, absolutely, absolutly. But
IMDb 7 out of 10, Rotten Tomatoes 84. Like people like this movie. Metacritic 85.
What's the audience score on the Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm looking. I'm looking. I'm not seeing it. Hold on. Yeah. I mean, people really appreciate. Well, 65 is the popcorn meter.
Yep. Because I mean, I'm not a movie critic. You know, maybe I don't have the appreciation yet for something this slow and dull. But
all right.
But like I said, listen. It is beautifully shot, great performances. I can appreciate that it's well made. I'm recognizing as I'm watching it that it's well made. I'm just not following.
Yeah.
So maybe that reflects me more than the movie, but this seems to be a general consensus.
I'm hoping that you like this week's homework more, but I've given you another one that is definitely going to be a slow burn.
All right. Well, we can talk about it.
I'm giving you the slow burns. Okay. So, unfortunately it wasn't your favorite. I like it a lot more than you do. I watched a movie that you assigned me to. I had to pay for it. Wasn't available to stream anywhere. Goodness sake.
So sorry.
Yeah, but I watched Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo, and I liked it a lot. I gave it a 3.5 on Letterboxd. I think that's a lower score than you probably have it. I don't know. But and I think it was lower than the average. I thought it was really good, but I thought it was also. I don't know. I guess I didn't fully appreciate Ruffalo's performance at times. I felt like the handshakes and the leg shakes were a bit overdone. I felt like he was ramping it up a bit. I at times, I don't know. I liked it though. Don't get me wrong.
No, it's fair.
Anne Hathaway is criminally underutilized. Yeah. I don't even get why she decided to do this part
in 2019.
I know she's so underused in this. She has one really great scene in the hospital where she calls out his boss, but other than that, they give her very little to do.
Nothing.
And I don't get it. She's so much better than this part. Gives her the opportunity to be, but it has a really great cast. There's a lot of good people. Bill Camp and Tim Robbins and so many others. Victor Garber. There's some great actors throughout this, and I guess another thing I would say is I feel like I've seen this story before. You know, it didn't feel like we were blazing any new trails here. You know, whether it be Spotlight or Aaron Brockovich or any number of other things. In fact, with Spotlight, I feel like I've even seen Ruffalo play this part before. So those were some of my my reservations about the movie, but it was a good watch and I enjoyed it.
Fair enough. Totally fair.
Yeah.
You want me to give you your homework for next week or this week?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
Yeah. This week, I am assigning you Tick, Tick, Boom. That is a musical that it came out in 2020, I believe, starring Andrew Garfield and also Vanessa Hudgens a little bit, not too much, so don't expect too much of that. But this is a movie that I kind of fell in love with when I watched it. I have still only seen it one time. I need to rewatch it. Maybe I'll watch it this week with you. But 2021, it says, and I actually remember right where I was when I was watching it, and I was just kind of sitting there absolutely entranced by this movie. I love Andrew Garfield, and we both enjoy musicals.
Season ticket holder.
Yep, we both enjoy musicals, and I thought it was a really great performance and some pretty fun songs and a really great story. So I won't say too much more than that.
I'm glad to hear you
but I
say
think
that
you'll
you
like
enjoy musicals.
Yeah, I do. Of course I do.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that. Yeah, no, I'm a huge musical theater lover, and it's really weird to me that I haven't seen this movie. It was high on my list to see. It's been one of those films that unfortunately has stayed on my watch list for a really long time, for far too long. So I'm glad that you're forcing my hand, because I've been wanting to watch this movie for several years since it came out.
I mean, some of my favorite movies are musicals.
Yeah. No, I know that you do. I like that is something that you can appreciate. Okay, I'm looking forward to it. And I'm assigning you Lone Star.
Lone Star.
This is a John Sayles film. It is about a small border town in Texas that is dealing with everything that a border town in Texas is going to be dealing with in terms of you've got a military base there. You've got the border crossing and the influence of the Mexican culture on southern Texas and the people that are there, both legally, illegally, what that means to humanity, and to mix it all in, you've got a good old fashioned murder mystery. A very early young performance by Matthew McConaughey that is fantastic. Chris Cooper is the lead. He is not the actor that you typically see in a lead role. He's very, very good in this. I think that this movie really tells a fantastic story of what it means to be American today and what it should be, and how we can look at our neighbors and love our neighbors as ourselves. And I think it's really fascinating. It is it's a little slow at times, one might think. It's bizarre. It's mysterious. It's heartbreaking. It's really great film. I love it a lot, and I hope you like it.
I'll get right on it.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
You're not going to have to pay for it.
Yeah. By the way, didn't check to see if Tick Tick Boom is free anywhere, but I'm pretty sure it's a Netflix original. Pretty sure. So
I think I've seen it. I think it's available to stream.
Yeah, I think it's been on Netflix since they released it. So I think you're good to go there. But
yeah,
I appreciate it. I'm broke, got no money, so I'll take the free stuff.
All right. Well, get us some sponsors this week while you're not got anything else to do.
Yeah, I'll work on.
All right. Well, we've ranked and debated. We've disagreed, though not about who shot first. It's all just another day in the galaxy.
Yeah. So whether you're Gen X, Gen Z, or somewhere lost in the timeline, please continue to listen, like, share, and subscribe to I Am Your Father.
Until the next episode, remember that with great power comes a great second breakfast. The winter's also coming, so may the force live long and prosper with you.
Because we can do this all day. Peace.
Love you, son.